YouTube, what's happening? It is Thursday of week one. We are here, football on the schedule each and every week for the next few months. It is the best time of the year, in my opinion. I've been having fun doing baseball each and every day, but something about football just makes things so much better. So you can see there's a lot of games today. There's 21 games to be exact. If you're here from baseball, you know I break down each and every game every single day. Well, I'm not going to do that for football because that's a lot of games. Two, nobody cares to hear about Western Carolina and NC State. Nobody wants to hear about Fordham and Bowling Green. I mean, some might. You absolute sickos, you know who you are. I don't want to talk about it. So we're going to ignore those. Now, if you want to put them in like on a money line parlay, hey, have fun, do what you do, but I'm not doing that. Now, I will talk about some of the more important games like Carolina, Minnesota, a real game, and North Dakota State and Colorado, things like that, Coastal and Jacks, things like that. We'll look at those games that make sense. And when I say we're going to look at games, we're going to use my new matchup thing where I have all the information, data, imports on my, I guess you call it a model, whatever. So like if I want to use, Minnesota, it just pops up and hit it, bam, all the stats populate, tells me who they played last week, who they played next week. Fun stuff. I love that. On top of it, since we don't have any stats for the season yet, we're going to look at last year's stats as you see. But we're also going to look at depth charts and see the additions, subtractions, things like that, and see what's out there because, I bet based on stats and there's not many of them. So we're going to be betting based on vibes for the next week. So, week one, let's have some fun, right? There you go. So there's a bunch of games to talk about. Drop a like, subscribe. I appreciate you being here. And let's jump into that first game right now. All right, first game up, we got Carolina, Minnesota. Currently is Carolina by 2, totals 51.5. It's in Minnesota. Great information. Look over at last year's records. We see Minnesota was 6-7, North Carolina was 8-5. Okay, not bad. Nothing really, Carolina went to a bowl. Minnesota finished under 500. Okay, not a problem. I don't really see much of a crazy difference there. We look at the matchup screen here. We can see that Carolina had an advantage when it came to the offense just based on some of the numbers here. Basically, third down percentage, they were 9th in the country last year. They were 42.7 for 7th in the country in offense. That was great. Minnesota was not when it came to offense. They struggled, and I think it's because they didn't have a pure passer that could do something with the ball. So they were better with the defense, clearly. Carolina's defense was, let's be honest, they were just not good. They were 100. They allowed 414 yards a game. Come on. Terrible. Defense, not defense, but penalty yard wise, you can see a massive difference. Minnesota, purely, they do their job. Only second versus 121 for Carolina. So, you lean Minnesota defense, you lean Carolina offense just based on last year's numbers. Now, if we look over at the depth charts, let's pop over here real quick. We'll start with Carolina. The biggest thing is they brought in Max Johnson. If you follow football for any amount of time, you know who the hell Max Johnson is. You've seen him play. You've watched the game either at A&M or LSU, most likely LSU, I'm guessing. So we can look. I'll show you what he's got. For those who don't, because there's people that are just now watching football for the first time, and we can see Max Johnson here. He was at LSU in 2021, and 21 was his main season where he had 2,800 yards, 27-6, and then he transferred to A&M because he lost his job, let's be honest. And now he didn't do well there, didn't do much of anything there. 1,400 yards, 9-5 with a 62%. That ain't good. That's why you transferred again. Now you're at Carolina. You should be done with college, but you're still playing. Hey, whatever, do what you do. But let's be honest, I don't think Max Johnson is a very good quarterback. I just don't think he is. So going up against, let's look at the depth chart some more. We have two new people on. We have a grad transfer and we have a new addition on the left tackle. New people on the O-line always take some time to kind of gel, mesh a little bit. Defense is still mostly there, which based on these numbers, is that a good thing? It's always one of those questions. So let's pop over to Minnesota real quick. Only one on the offense who is new is Brosmer. Everyone else is with the team last year, so that's great news for Minnesota. The defense is mostly there. The only issue on the screen is Darius Taylor is the star running back, but dude's got hurt. He's hurt. He might not even play. I still haven't seen an update. It's still game time decision, but these guys are going to play. Let's be honest. And I don't think it's going to matter much. Just saying. I'm going to roll the dice a little bit today. So based on, let's go to player screen, and then we're going to look at Max Brosmer. He came over from New Hampshire, and look what he did. Now he was there 2019, didn't play 3 years. Now 22 and 23, 3,000, 3,400, 27 and 8, 29 6. Dude can ball out. He can throw the ball pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. New Hampshire's one of those teams in college that, okay, yeah, FCS typically tends to be good. So he's not a runner by any means. He's a thrower. He is a pure thrower. He will run when he absolutely has to or needs to, but he is a thrower. That's what he does. Based on all this information, everything here, and going back to the matchup screen, that concerns me for Carolina's defense. If Minnesota has an offensive pulse at all, I think they win this game. Just saying, because I don't think we're in week 1. There's nowhere where teams just massively improved. And Carolina's defense was bad. Their offense for Minnesota, their rushing offense was decent. 66 is middle. That's middle of the pack. But if you get your passing from 126 up to like 90, 80, and also you get to a nice balanced offense, Carolina is not known for having good defense. So for this play, and based on next week, Carolina has Charlotte, Minnesota has Rhode Island. Okay, they have an FCS game. I am going to take the most likely the more disciplined team. I'm taking the home team, and I'm going to take them to row the boat, and I'm going to take Minnesota money line at home today. I'm not going to take the total. We're going to take Minnesota to win the game. So outside of that, Minnesota money line, no total, nothing else. Next game. Our next game we're going to look at is going to be North Dakota State and Colorado, because let's be honest, it's probably the most popular game of the night because everybody wants to watch Colorado. And some people want to bet on them because they like Colorado, and some people want to bet against them because they absolutely hate Colorado. That's just what it is. So that's how it comes out too. So for this game, currently Colorado is now 10.5. It's been at 9.5 most of the week, but today, now, literally a few hours for the game, it's 10.5. So what can you do? Spread total, I mean, it's 55.5. Looking over at my board, we can see the record from last year. Everyone knows it. It's been said 1,000 times. Colorado was 4-8, so they were not good last year. So looking at the matchup, I'm not going to put FCS stats in here, even though it is North Dakota State. Yes, they're one of the top teams, but I'm not going to go out there and put their stats in because everyone sees teams get, just torn apart with the transfer portal. Nobody gets torn apart more than FCS teams. If you're any somewhat of a good player, you're most likely getting pulled from an FCS team to a bigger school. And even if you're not going to the top schools, you're getting pulled to the next tier and the next tier. And eventually, very few stay at their FCS schools. Point taken here, we can see Colorado's defense was trash. Let's just call it what it is. They were trash. They were terrible. 126 in total yards at 453 a game. They allowed 35 points a game. Just not good last year. And yeah, 132 in penalties. They were undisciplined. They were terrible. They were awful. Out of any word you wanted to say, that's what they were. Offensively, though, they were the 8th fastest team in the country at 22.3 seconds per play. Passing, it was the 14th. So they will chuck that ball over the yard. Rushing, last, 134. Nobody was better. Nobody was worse. At 69 point is terrible. So they're going to throw the ball. We know that. Looking over at the depth charts, we are going to pop over here, and there is a lot of yellow or gold, or whatever color you want to call it, which means new additions, transfers, freshmen. Cool. They brought in a lot of people because they should have, because they were 4-8. Now, did they bring in absolute studs? No, let's be honest, they didn't. But were they better than what they had? I mean, probably, somewhat. Do I see this team being 4-8 again? No. But do I see them being 10-2? Hell no. No, let's be honest here. The main thing is going to be the offensive line. Shedeur is the quarterback. We know what he does. You don't even have to look at him. You have some of these players. You can see some of them. I mean, they brought in somebody like Will Shepherd from Vandy. You can see what he did in his years at Vandy. Not bad. It's Vanderbilt, let's be honest. But, get you a nice little deep threat. So I think it's going to be Colorado and a whole bunch of shootouts this year, if the offensive line can keep Shedeur upright. If they do like last year and he's running for his life, he might have a short season, let's be honest, because it's not far past to say, hey, as soon as he starts getting injuries from getting dinged here and there, they might just sit him halfway through the season and focus on the draft. I mean, that's how they're thinking. Let's be honest. You're focused on the money. That's what they're focused on here. They already got the billboard up in Times Square that was announced earlier today or yesterday. I saw that. So, I mean, do I want them to succeed? Sure. I like seeing people win. But, I mean, I'm realistic too. If that O-line can't keep them up, and seeing depth charts like this where you've got all these new linemen coming in, your center's the same, which, I mean, anyone from last year, I don't know if you want back. Now he's a sophomore, but yeah, so a lot of people win, especially. So no one talks about the O-line that much. I think they should. Everyone focus on the defense, how bad they were. Yeah, they were terrible. Yes. The whole second string's new. Outside of one guy, everyone's new. So, I mean, there you go. Pick. Shiloh's back there at free safety again. So you have tons of people out there. Tons. It's going to take a minute for them to click, but I think they'll still be able to score points. Now, do I think they're going to win the game today against North Dakota State? A lot of people see North Dakota State and they think, oh, that's that FCS team that won all those titles. Typically, yes. Pre-portal days, you would think that because you didn't really leave in the portal. Now, North Dakota State lost their coach. They lost a ton of players. You have a lot of missing pieces at North Dakota now. And on top of it, every team's got injuries to deal with. So, and they don't have the depth like other teams do now. Colorado brought a whole bunch of people in. I can see why it's moved to 10.5. I can see it. Now, for my personal pick today, I'm not playing the side or the total because, I mean, North Dakota State could win this game. They could. But it's a new coaching staff, a new regime. We'll have to see how they do. A lot of people will be on the money line, and I get it. No problem. Understood. I root for you. I hope you win. I'm not taking the spread. I'm taking the team total of, what is it at currently? I just had it. It is 33.5 for Colorado because I think they're going to try to show out at home. It's the first game of the season. You saw what they did in the first game last year against TCU. They showed out. They have Nebraska next week. I can see them getting that 35-point mark quite easily. So I'm taking Colorado team total over 33.5 and move on to the next game. All right, third game we're going to talk about is going to be Coastal versus Jacksonville State. And you can see it is 3.5 for Jacksonville State. Total's 54.5. At open 56 is coming down a little bit. So the main things I want to touch on here, let's pop over to the records from last year. Coastal was 8-5. You can see that. And we got to scroll down a little bit. Jacksonville State, they were 9-4. So, I mean, both teams are pretty good. Can't complain there. So let's look at the matchups. And looking at these matchups, I mean, they made me just see something fun because last year, now some of the teams changed, obviously, but they don't change crazy over one season. So Jacksonville State was number 4 in rushing last year. They were number 4, and they were the fastest team in the country when it came to seconds per play. Tempo, number 1 for Jack State all day. So 4th for rushing. Coastal Carolina rush defense was 92nd. That's an advantage for the offense of Jacksonville State. And then I look at the Coastal Carolina offense, passing 41. I mean, not bad, but not great, above average. And the pass defense for Jacksonville State was 103. So both offenses are going to have advantages over the defense based on just on last year's stats alone. So then we want to pop over here to depth charts. We want to take a look and see what's been happening, see who came, who left, yada, yada. So we see offense, Coastal Carolina. I mean, most of the team is still there from last year. You can see who steps up there. Vasco is the quarterback now. Grayson's gone, so we can pop down here. We can see Vasco. Look at his stuff. He played in a good bit of game last year. Had 580, 6.5, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Not crazy, but he didn't play all that much. Only 89 attempts all season. So, and he did rush 46 times for 318. So he'll run when he needs to. So. And then we go back to the depth charts. We look around the defense. A lot of changes on the defense in Coastal. And I mean, that might not be good. They got a lot of people back, and they're still back. I have a feeling that rush defense still ain't going to be the best. So Jacksonville State might be able to put some points up when it comes to the defensive, running the ball against the defensive side of Coastal Carolina. Now, if I look over here at Jacksonville State, same situation, second string, heavy on the defense with changes. Offense for Jacksonville State, a couple new wide receivers that they didn't have before. When you're 115 and pass, you probably need some new receivers, and they seem to have did that. So quarterback is Logan Smothers. So we'll pop over here and we'll show Logan real quick, show him off a little bit, and we can see what he's done. A couple years at Nebraska. Last year he was here, 108 attempts, 55%, 655, 6-3. I mean, not the best numbers, didn't play too much, only 108 attempts. So there you go. And he will also run the ball, 75 carries, 283. That's a lot of carries, 3.8 average. So in 6 touchdowns. So they like to run the ball with him. They also like to run the ball with their starting running back, which is now is going to be Anwar Lewis. And we can see what he has done his 2 years there, 820 and 433. So he has, he's no stranger to toting the rock out there. So yeah, he'll be the starting running back for Jacksonville. So all that said, I think defense is going to be at a minimum in this game. The total has already come down 2 points, what does worry me a little bit, but I think totals are coming down to all the games because of what we saw last week with the way the clock worked and certain things in certain games where teams only got so many possessions. But the only issue that I see with that is that Jacksonville State is the fastest team in the country. Number 1 last year, 20.3. Coastal's slower. They're 100, yes, but that number 1 right there helps out a good bit. So for me personally in this one, I am going to take that over a 54.5. Let me look at my other book right quick just to see if I can get anything lower than that. Come on. 54, yeah. So 54.5 over is what I'm going to take in this one. I might even do a little bump it down to 52 and I'm sorry, over. So yeah, 54. I don't know what I'm talking about. Over 54.5. I might go 56, 55.5, maybe get a little extra points. So we'll do that. Outside of that, I'm not going to take a side because both defenses might give up points. I don't trust either side. So just the over. I want a high scoring game and we'll move on to the next one. All right. So we're done with Thursday. There's just a bunch of FCS, just absolute massive, heavy inflated spreads out there. We got a handful of games. That's good. Moving on to Friday now, we have I looked at Temple, Oklahoma because it is FBS, but it's Temple. And you look at that spread, it's 42. I saw that. I said, oh no, no shot. So we're coming down here to FAU, Michigan State. That's the first one that looks decent enough to talk about in my mind. So Michigan State's 2 touchdown babies right now, 45.5 your total. Looking over here at the record, I mean, I can show you Michigan State was 4-8 and FAU was also 4-8. So it's a battle of F4 and 8s. So looking at the matchup here, we can also see Michigan State was a mess last year. Just terrible. If you got 130 next to you in anything, that ain't good. And you close in multiple offensive categories. You have Chiles starting now with Jonathan Smith coaching. That helps out a lot. Now, do I think Michigan State will jump from 4-8 to title contender? Hell no, no shot. I think they'll get from 4-8 to maybe 6-6, maybe 7-5. Will they ever compete with the big boys? Maybe, we'll see. But I just I can see them improving this year. So defensively, both teams were kind of struggle as well. Both passing defense was just not good. So there we go. So let's pop over some depth charts and see what we got. Let's start with FAU. Let's look around. Okay, you can see half their offense is new. That's always promising in your first game of the season. 2 on their defense has been new, but everybody else is still there from last year. On a defense that was 96 in passing, they brought in a new strong safety. And yeah, so a couple people in the secondary to help that out. Defensively, they were 61st, whole game 81. They brought the linebacker. Cam Fancher, however you say his name, is the new quarterback. Let's show you what he's done. Statistically, he was at Marshall for 3 years, and he 2,100, 11-11, all at Marshall. Now he's at FAU, so we'll see how that translates because, I mean, these aren't bad numbers, 65%. 11-11 is not good. Let's just be honest. That's terrible. But yeah, new start, new chance. So he's a starter here. So looking back at the depth charts, we'll see. Let's pop over to Michigan State. We can see all the new changes. They brought in a couple new linemen, new tight end. Obviously, Aiden Chiles is in there from Oregon State. And we can pop over and show extra Chiles as well. He only had 24 for 35, 304 touchdowns. I mean, that's a great game right there, is it not? So there you go. So that was all. You can see his game log. That's what he did the whole season. Yeah, I think he's going to be pretty decent though. So looking back at the depth chart a little bit, we can see the defense has been retooled a little bit with some new players, a couple D linemen, a couple linebackers, another corner. Not many upgrades, but some upgrades, enough to get things done, I think. The biggest thing I'm going to focus on is the new coaching regime and how Jonathan Smith did when he was at Oregon State. So I'm gonna focus on that a lot more. So I think Michigan State, even though the numbers just don't look good, in their 2023 matchups here. And since we don't have any stats for this year so far yet, can't really do anything yet. So I'm going to, it's 14. I think I'm going to take Michigan State at home by 14. I'm going to take them there. I think Charles has a show out game and people will get excited prematurely for Michigan State, and then they'll get blown up by somebody in a few weeks. Not Maryland next week. FAU has Army next week. Have fun with that one, boys. You're going to need it. So, because they're going to triple option you to death. So I'm going to take Michigan State minus 14. I'm not going to touch the total because I don't know. This game could end up being 17-0. It could be 34-10. I don't know. I'm just going to take that 14 and we're going to move on to the next game. All right, the last game we're going to talk about is going to be this one right here. It's going to be TCU Stanford, because I looked at Western Michigan, Wisconsin, and I saw the spread was 24. That just feels perfect for a Wisconsin game. It just does. Nothing stands out. This feels like it's going to be 28-7, 31-7. Just nothing in there looked good, so I passed on it completely. So there's a little breakdown for you for it, but yeah, that's what it feels like. So TCU Stanford, we're going to talk a little bit about it because it's weird. It's weird in the fact TCU's going to Stanford. Stanford's now an ACC team, even though they're on the West Coast, and whatever. So we have TCU currently 9.5. It will open at 8, and the total's 59.5. So it opened at 61, so it's coming down a little bit. So looking over at the records, we see Stanford was a smooth 3-9, but TCU wasn't much better at 5-7. So yeah. So that's hence why it's only a 10-point spread. Makes sense. Looking at the matchup, we can see that Stanford, TCU, clearly the main thing is TCU is a very fast team, number 3 in the country last year at 21.2 seconds per play. Also, yards per game, they were 7th, though they like to throw that tater all over the field. Total yards, 468. They were good in third down percentage at 47.3. They're a shoot 'em out team. That's what they do. They want to run and gun. That's what you can see the numbers. So they average 30.5 points a game. Stanford, on the other hand, is different. I mean, they still kind of quick at 59th at 25.8. They only scored 20.4 points. So that's a 10-point difference already right there. Rushing offense is not good for Stanford. Passing's okay. 56 is all right. It's the defense we got to look at here. I mean, Stanford's pass defense was last in the country at 299.7. Points allowed 132 at 38.4. This is going to, I think TCU is going to have a field day scoring. Now, I think Stanford will get theirs because TCU's pass defense was 119th. It wasn't that good. And they allowed 29 points. So right there, we're at 59.5. I almost want to take the over because both pass defenses are not great. So, and there's penalties, so we're going to have extra yards right there, most likely, because you don't just all of a sudden get better at penalties on offseason. It doesn't work that way. So let's pop over to the depth charts to see what we're working with. Let's go TCU first. So we got some new faces on the line. We got 3 new linemen, which is always fun. Josh Hoover is back there throwing the tater around. And if you want, who is Josh Hoover? Let me show you who Josh Hoover is. There you go. You can see in last year, 185 for 298, 62%, 2,200, 15-9. Long was 81. He throws it across the field. He barely runs, 20 carries, 5 yards. Don't expect him to run. He's a drop back, throw a ball. That's what he does. For Stanford, well, we can do the defense too. You can see it's got new faces across a lot of replacements on defense, hopefully to help that number out. But when the number's that high, it doesn't make a big jump in your first game. It just doesn't. So I expect their defense to be still pretty bad, but not as bad maybe. We'll see. So let's pop over to Stanford. I mean, it's Stanford. Most people aren't transferring into Stanford, especially because their academic prestigiousness is a main thing for them. So you got 2 new on both the starters. So you have a new nose tackle and a new wide receiver. So outside of that, Ashton Daniels is still going to be throwing the rock since they do both teams passing is their main thing, it looks like. So let's pop over to the player screen right quick. And let's look at some Ashton Daniels. There you go. 11-8, 22-47. This was with Stanford last year, 58%. Long of 97 yards. That's crazy. He will run. He ran 110 times for 296. Now, he doesn't run far, but he will run some. 2.7 for only 3 touchdowns. So they only scored 20.4 points a game last year. So what do you expect out of the guy? I mean, come on. So for this one, Go back to the matchup screen. You can see everything there. Again, we don't have stats yet. We will soon, but for now, we have to go based on vibes and everything. It's going to be in Stanford. It's Northern California. It's tomorrow night. It's going to be a little cool outside because it's Northern California. What to expect? I think it's Northern California. Don't quote me on that. I'm in Florida. I'm on the other side of the world. So neither team has a major game next week. One's playing LIU, which they're going to win by 70. And then Cal Poly for Stanford. I don't know what that spread is going to be, but this one's going to be 70. 60, 70. It's going to be the highest spread on the board, probably. So my guess, I could be wrong. Just saying. So there you go. You can see all that. I think I like the over of 59.5. I think both teams are going to be able to score. I think we're going to have a shootout a la the Stanford Colorado game last year. That was a fun one where it was 40. I think it was both teams at 40s. It was crazy. It was wild. I think we get something close to that. So I'm taking the over 59.5 in this one. I think both teams are going to throw it all over the field on these defenses, and I don't care who wins the game. So I'm not picking a money line. Just give me points, and that's it in this one. All right, so that's it for Thursday and Friday. There wasn't many massive matchups for these 2 days, but guess what? It doesn't matter. There's a ton of football games on. So you got the plays. I only gave out 5 because there's only 5 games. Now, if you want to take some money line parlays on some of this stuff, you can jumble in some of these massive favorites. I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if one FCS team won tonight. Just one. If 2 won, I won't believe you if you told me. So will somebody probably win? I mean, there could be a massive upset, but you saw these spreads. There's some massive favorites today. So there will be some close calls in there, I'm sure, where teams are like, oh my God, oh wow, this FCS team's better than we thought. Yeah, it happens every season. Will I have a giant, massive parlay of everybody? Probably will, because I'm just a degenerate. I like to do things like that. So for a money line parlay, shall we? Let's just roll through them real quick. Let's have a little fun with it. So Rutgers, obviously. NC State, obviously. Wake Forest, obviously. UCF, yeah. Jack Say Monroe, I would pass on all day. I ain't touching that one. Are you crazy? Ew. Look at the spread. It's 5.5. I don't want to touch that. I hope Monroe loses. No, they're just terrible. So, Buffalo, 3.5. Ew, what happened to Buffalo? They fell off a cliff, didn't they? BG and Fordham. I wouldn't be surprised if BG lost. Would not be surprised one bit. I didn't want to touch that one. Central Michigan, 31.5. Easy dub. Arkansas should win by 70, even though it's 50. It'll probably win 49-0. Watch. That's exactly what will happen. Toledo and Duquesne, 48. It says, I said 48, 28. Yeah, Toledo all day. Missouri all day, showing out for the crowd. Kansas playing some high school named Linwood. What are you doing, Kansas? Play a real team. We already talked about that one. UAB should win for the Birmingham folk. Tulane should easily win. Tulsa, 37. Utah, Illinois. Now, Sac State and San Jose, I didn't touch, but I mean, that's a good game, a good late game. I just didn't want to talk about it, so because I don't have any information on Sac State. So, but yeah, stay away. So I would say all those ones I said, yeah, throw them in a parlay, see what happens. Only one unit, of course, maybe half a unit. Be safe. It might be 10 to win 15. It might be 100 to win 150. But guess what? His profit goes with somebody. Why not? So, and then you come over here to Friday. You got Army. Lehigh ain't beating Army, let's be real. And Oklahoma's going to destroy Temple, and we already talked about that one. Duke should handle Elon. Being only 23 is a little concerning to me, but hey, whatever. I already told you my thoughts on Wisconsin and Western Michigan. That game's going to be a 28-point victory. I just know it is. That's Wisconsin. 35-7 final. You know it is. Or 31-7 or something. We talked about TCU Stanford, and then we roll into Saturday, and there's a bunch of games Saturday. So what's going to happen is, this is today and Friday's video. Tomorrow on Friday, I'm going to start filming Saturday's video because there's like 60 games to talk about. In that day, we'll also cover the Sunday game and the Monday game as well. It might get broken into 2 videos. It might be one long video. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So, but that's the end of this video for today and Friday. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you checking in, liking, subscribing, all that fun stuff. It's going to be a fun, long, amazing season. So drop a like, subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow.